loyalty, where can I find? Erased by the self in the postmodern time. Eyes off the brother and stuck to the prize. In this commune of self where culture will die. It's a brand of devotion that comes at a price. You pay less in love but still sacrifice. Find yourself lonely and seeking advice. In this commune of self where culture will die. All your words and all your deeds, they don't mean a thing without loyalty. I'll be loyal to you, you'll be loyal to me. But let's see what happens when we disagree. While I'm fighting corpses and coughing up pride, this commune of self, the culture will die. It's a season of selfishness for you decide to tone down the ego and step down beside. We'll gladly enjoy it before you backslide. In this commune of self, where culture will die. All your words and all your deeds don't mean a thing without loyalty. And all of our plans and all of our seams are broken and torn by disloyalty. It's a season of selfishness for you to decide to tone down the ego and sit down beside. Gladly enjoy it before you backslide. In this commune of self, where culture will die. Oh, you're here to be worshipped, but there sleeps a lie. The stage is an altar you're pushing aside. So you keep on dancing to self-glorify. In this commune of self, where culture will die. Oh, so you keep on dancing to self-glorify. This commune of self, where culture will die. Hello, everybody. My name is Jacob Betts. I'm from the American Hotel System. Thank you so much to Grove Studios for having me play here today. I'm just gonna give a little share here and play the next song, man. Oh, it's a beautiful day outside here. I'm in Grand Rapids right now. And I don't know how it is over on the east side of the state, but I am happy to be the first West Coast guest I hear. These are crazy times we live in, I think, and I think we all had an experience of recently. I don't know about you, but I have been bombarded constantly, it seems, by noise and a whole lot of opinion and a whole lot of talking, and I'm really, really bad at listening. And so this is my reminder to myself to keep on listening and stop talking so much. It's called Deaf Ears. my death fear. Preachers, teachers, politicians, filling our hearts fight. Love is what you need, there is a hand that's meant to not tight. Maybe understanding, beliefs, and we can make it right. Friendship and devotion, that is not red, blue, white. We ain't what we want to hear. You will see all that is there. You said that the truth here, the truth far on our deaf ear. Oh, I see that's all we need you. Your voice far on my deaf ear. Oh, I see that's all we need. Oh, I see that's all we need. Oh, I see that's all we need. So what's far on my death ear? So what's far on my death ear? So what's far on my death ear? Yeah, that is a song off of our record, The Sunken Truth, which came out in December. And that song is, I think, the first one we ever played together as a band. That's the first song that I wrote that we all had multiple instruments on. Our first gig ever, we played that song. So holds a special place in my heart. Hello, everybody who's watching right now. John Hayes, I see you're here. Hello, hello. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to take it down a little bit. And this is a song that just came out in April, April 3rd. It's called Secondhand. And I felt like I was at this place of comparing myself to other people. And I have lots of creative friends. And if you're a creative person or you've ever done anything that you're really passionate about, you'll know that comparison is the biggest thief of joy. And I really think that everybody has a story and everybody has a unique story to tell that's worth telling. And so this is my reminder to kind of step out of line, to be free from that pride and that comparison. It's called Secondhand. Wasting my time with the babble, living my life like a battle, treading the tide, fighting uphill, struggle along, emotions are strong. From all this secondhand sadness, firsthand madness, from all of the noise I fill my life with. I'm feeling the lies, making labels, wondering why I'm not able break through the sky while I'm disabled, being withdrawn, carrying on with all this secondhand sadness, firsthand madness. All of the noise will fill my life with firsthand crass and secondhand gladness, bringing them down in my unhappiness. And now that I've tried with the ego, step out of line to be free from feelings of pride and despairing, singing along, comparing the song to all this secondhand sadness, firsthand madness. All of the noise that fill my life with firsthand crass and secondhand gladness, bringing them down in my unhappiness. Secondhand sorrow, fear tomorrow, from all of these troubles that I borrow. Secondhand sorrow, fear tomorrow, from all of these troubles that I borrow. From all of these troubles that I borrow. Now on secondhand. All right. Well, I'm certain that some of you can relate to the idea of or the experience of working in a toxic workplace. I think we've all had our fair share of toxic workplaces, but it's a song that I wrote when I was in the middle of a toxic work environment. I'm out now, and I'm thankful for that, but I was really looking for a place where I could thrive and I could live. So this song's called Home. Oh, I'm looking for a place to call my home, where to lay my weapons down, fear's gone. A homesick heart knows that it's not alone. Oh, I'm looking for a place to call my home. Oh, I'm searching for a place where I can live. Honest mistakes are made that left me in. A weary soul can learn to sing again. Oh, I'm looking for a place where I can live. Oh, I'm looking for a place where I can live. Oh, I'm looking for a place where I can live. Oh, I'm looking for a place where I can live. Give, grow, my soul. Oh, I'm looking for a place to call my home. Just this past Friday on May 1st, we released a sequel to that song. It's called Another Road. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think, especially in these times of isolation and distancing, more than ever, we can feel alone and isolated. And I don't know if you've ever struggled with mental illness or not, but it's tough, it's difficult, it's hard. And for the month of May, because of that, 50% of our sales, our merchandise, t-shirts, CDs, digital sales, we're going to donate to Pine Rest Mental Health Services here in Grand Rapids. There should be a link on this video stream to that. If you want to donate, that'd be wonderful. 100% of the donations from this stream are going to be given to Pine Rest. So you can support a good cause and really show some love. This song is called Another Road. It's about substance abuse. Was a man who loved to laugh and play. He had a wife and kids to light his way. He faced his problems head on one by one. Found solutions just too hard to come. Lift his spirits high, light it slow, and came down hard, rubber met his road. Found him in a grave, steel and stone. And once he loved, left with broken bones. He went down another road. He went down the road. There was a girl who cared too much too fast. She poured her problems deep inside a glass. The way the world left her flag at half-mast. She didn't know how long she could last. She went down another road. She went down, she went down. Had a wife and kids and shorts to make. That song is called Another Road, Home Part 2. Just came out this Friday. We also released a music video for that song on Monday. So if you want to see the music video, you can go to our Facebook, our YouTube channel, and check that out. This is before these are uncertain times we live in, and I'm really bad at shutting up, and I'm really bad at listening, and it's like a fire sometimes that consumes me, and I just say all these words that I shouldn't say and that I never meant to say, and I really believe that words have power to lift others up and also to tear other people down. And the phrase "sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me," I think is so misguided and so wrong, because words are powerful, and words are some of the most powerful tools we have to do good in this life and to build other people up. And so this song is my reminder to use my words to help others instead of tearing them down. It's called Fire. I've heard the pen swing harder than swords, so we fight with words in this war. There is a match, it ignites with a flash, consuming my heart with and words are the flames, the burning our lungs, consuming your soul in this song. And they say fire will heal me, fire will cleanse me, fire will turn things around. But this fire is hurting, making me dirty, fire is burning me down. Well, I've heard the pens cut deeper than knives, the tools we abuse in this life. A heart that's a place will keep singing the rage and thinks it can tell you who's right. And the flame that takes all is my judgment call. It lights as my gavel falls. Yeah, yeah, they say fire will heal me, fire will cleanse me, fire will turn things around. But this fire is hurting, making me dirty, fire is burning me down. Yeah, yeah. As long as I've lived, I use notes as a shift to stoke flames with eyes to the floor. So love help me see what my life could be when I look up instead of ignore. And they say fire will heal me, fire will cleanse me, fire will turn things around. This fire is hurting, making me dirty, fire is burning me down. Yeah, yeah. I've heard the pen swing harder than swords, so we fight with words in this war. The 21st century screams like a ghost of years I've misspent trying to fill up a hole drilled by lonely, prideful sorrow. I'm letting go down from my throat. 21 years now, I've been alone, trying to fake love, this pedestal testimony to all that I boast. Yeah, and I'm letting go down from my throat. I'll never know what my life could be in this 21st century. It's 21 days now, habit is formed. The old man is gone now. New life was born, growing slowly. A heart that's adorned. Yeah, and I'm letting go down from my throne. I'll never know where my life will be in this 21st century. Voices saying I'm wrong, saying that selflessness doesn't belong. Self-matrimony, so just sing along. Yeah, and I'm letting go down from my throne. I'll never know what my life will be in this 21st century. I'm letting go down from my throne. I'll never know what my life could be in this 21st century. That was a song called 21st. A song, fun fact about that song was featured in the August issue of Relics magazine last year. Relics magazine, August 2019, and that was an awesome experience, awesome opportunity for us. I cannot describe the feeling of walking into a Barnes and Noble to the magazine shelf and pulling a magazine off the rack and opening up and seeing a picture of my band in there. That was one of the coolest things that's happened so far for us. This song's going to be way different. Way different without somebody to sing back to me, but this is the first single we ever released, this first studio single we ever released about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And I think it's even more relevant to me now, in my life now, than it was when I wrote it. It's called Talk Incorporated, Talk Inc. And it's about living my life through the lens of whatever screen was in front of me and letting that control my life and saying, I don't need that. I don't need that to define how I live and define who I am. And it's kind of my rejection of living through propaganda and just sharing noise. So it's called Talking. People telling me what I need to believe in. Another channel change for the same machine, yeah. You poison now for the toxin is streaming. My heart's a red flag, but I'm fighting to feel it. Buying up the lies, and it's no surprise. I've lived with this conditioning for all my life. But see, I don't need no local supply codes. People, what my life's about. Joining with the band while the wagon is slinking. You plant your flag in the ground while the platform is sinking. I'm looking left to right, but both wings are bleeding. Neither one will fly while the fist is swinging. Arguments are battle lines to televise. I see them as drama, they just can't be right. see, I don't need no vocal supply code to speak for what my life's about. Ooh, I can't see you, but you're talking to me. Can't see you, but you're talking to me. I can't see them, but they're talking to me. I can't see them, but they're talking to me. Looking all around at the heads on the screen. And all this talk of violence is killing me. Sharing noises, stealing off to soothe my life. Disconnected from the Steven Seagal Nazi. I don't need no vocal supply code to speak for what my life's about. And that is Talk Inc. I have one more song I'm going to sing today. This was the first single we released off of our full-length record, The Sunken Truth. I wrote this song, man, 2.5 years ago. I was in Belize. I was doing some video work in Belize, and I was away from the rest of the group for a few hours. I got some lunch, and then I went out and I sat. It was in the middle of the jungle. I mean, the rainforest, like straight up the rainforest. And I sat down underneath a tree, and a coconut tree, and I looked up at the sky, and it was beautiful, and it was so serene. And I mean, I was surrounded by this gorgeous nature. I had been in this country for about a week, and I have the problem of not being able to appreciate what I'm experiencing at the moment. And I felt this dread, just this existential dread, that I had to go back home the next day. I had to fly back home, and that this feeling of peace and serenity would be gone. And I was worrying and had anxiety about feeling the loss and mourning the loss of the moment. And I think this song kind of captures that feeling I had, and especially now. It's called The Feeling, and the chorus says, I wish I could have the feeling again. And so now it's recontextualized for me in these last 2 months. We had a tour that got canceled, and we had a whole bunch of gigs that got canceled, just like everybody. And you work so hard on something, and then all those things get taken away. And that's way beyond my control and way beyond any person's control. So this is kind of my reminder to myself to enjoy the moment, but it's also longing for appreciation. So I'm Jacob Betts from the American Hotel System. This is my last song, and then we're gonna go back over to Grove Studios and talk for a little bit. This is called The Feeling. And it would help if I put my guitar in the correct tuning. Here we go. Happens to the best of us. 'Cause when the memories of broken things seem to come unglued, and experience of past mistakes take my current point of view, mine is racing back and forth, my mental self-abuse, and all I long for is providence, peace when it was true. On and on my soul cries out, shelter from this rain. My heart is beating quickly now, for relief within the pain. And how I wish I could have the feeling again. And how I wish I could change my soul's been. When the headlines of blackened skies make me long for days of blue, and when it feels like days go by now with nothing left to lose, opinions spitting back and forth, the rhetoric we use, and all I long for is providence on the search for sunken truth. On and on my soul cries out, shelter from this rain. My heart is beating quickly now, for relief in the pain. And how I wish I could have the feeling again. And how I wish I could change my soul's been. I'm running out of the past, but the world has stopped spinning. So I was sitting alive. Oh, I wish I could have this feeling again. And how I wish I could have the feeling again. How I wish I could change my soul is bad. I'm running out of the past, but the world has lost me. So I was sitting alive. Oh, I wish I could have this feeling again. Oh, this feeling again. Oh, this feeling again. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks so much, Jacob. That was incredible. Really amazing set, man.
Thanks.
Brightened a bunch of people's Wednesdays. Just hearing that songwriting work and that guitar work you got going on there.
Thank you.
Welcome everybody to Grove Sessions. This is my name is Rick Coughlin. I'm one of the co-founders of Grove Studios, coming to you live on this beautiful Wednesday early evening. For those of you that don't know us, Grove Studios is a 24/7 self-service rehearsal studio space in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And we're featuring a fantastic artist, Jacob Betts, or Jake Betts from the American Hotel System, a Grand Rapids band. We'll talk about them a little bit. And I'm also here with my head of social media, Max Price. He is a producer, rapper, and entrepreneur as well, and handles all things social media and marketing in the Grove Studios world. So he's going to be here on the interview. We're going to be talking to Jacob. How's it going, Max?
Hey.
Going good. Thank you so much, Jacob, for doing that. That was really amazing, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's get into it a little bit. Just a little bit of background. Like I said, the American Hotel System is a Grand Rapids band. It's our first West Coast of Michigan guest, and so we're super pleased to have you on. Certainly look forward to having the rest of the band on when the time permits and when we can all get together again. But just so you know, the American Hotel System, they're a rock band that fuses hard rock, Americana, and folk. I'm sure you heard some of those influences in his solo set. They have a really diverse musical range. They cover a lot of ground. Their recordings are just incredible. You can check out their recordings at AmericanHotelSystem.com. You can also check them out on all the platforms like Spotify and iTunes, and also on Bandcamp. So it's the AmericanHotelSystem.bandcamp.com. They've got their latest long player release called The Sunken Truth, which is just an incredible album all the way around. We're going to get into talking about some of that. And they have a very cool new project going on that we'll get into talking about, and some of the music that they've just released and that we can look forward to throughout the rest of the year. They're going to be doing some smaller releases and really cool stuff. Their discography really ranges from songs about love to war and just about everything in between. They've even been highlighted in Paste and Relics magazines, which is definitely an honor, I'm sure. So we just want to really get into it and talk about the band, talk about the songwriting, talk about what you guys got coming up. So the first thing out of the gate, man, I have to ask, the band name feels unique to me.
Yeah.
And I've actually had the great fortune of seeing you guys live, and you guys are incredible live. But what does the name mean? It's been bugging me for like 6 months at least to a year. I think it's been that long since I've seen you guys live. But what does it mean?
Yeah, it'll be a year in June, won't it? It was like, I believe it was June 1st, because it was Ipsy Arboru.
That's right.
And that was actually my 1 year anniversary with my wife, and we spent it over in Ipsy. That was what an experience.
It was an experience. The show, that was not the smoothest show for any of us. There were some things that went wrong. I think there was a leaky roof at some point. And,
it
was kind of a weird show, but you guys tore it up. I mean, you guys are really incredible live, man. And I can't wait. I was telling Max before we got on, I was like, dude, you got to see these guys live. They bring it like at a really high level and very pro. So,
I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the name. So 4 out of the 5 of us all went to music school together, and that's how we met. So Samuel, he plays guitar and violin. Haley, she's my best friend in the whole world. We actually played music together for about 10 years. Haley and I have. We had like an acoustic trio in high school and stuff. So Haley plays drums, and then Jake is his name, Jocko Lamont. He's on bass. And then so the 4 of us went to school together. And then Christian, CT McAllister, he's also on electric guitar. Christian and I actually worked together. We're both in the coffee industry, the professional coffee industry. So Christian and I met working in coffee. Oh yeah. So Christian and I met doing that. When you're in music school, you do a lot of traveling to, promote the program that you're in to high schoolers. And so you form various musical groups that they assign you to, and you go out and you're with your ensemble. And we were on an ensemble trip across the state. I think we had like a 4.5, 5-hour drive one way. And so on the way back, it was late. We had been gone all day. And, music people are very creative, very quirky and eccentric. And we were coming up with indie band names that just sound ridiculous, right? I mean, you got some pretty crazy ones out there. And I saw a billboard for Holiday Inn, and I said, "Oh, what about the American Hotel?" And one of my buddies went, "No, the American Hotel System." And we went, that's hilarious.
I love it.
And then that was like, 4 or 5 years ago. And then we we formed together as a band just for a college gig. We were all seniors. It was our last show ever that we would play on campus, and it was part of like a community weekend for finals week, and we needed a band name. And I thought, the American hotel system was actually pretty cool, and uh, it's since been, so we chose that, and it's since been allegorized. I really see it as an allegory for the compartmentalization in the culture that we live in, that I've been surrounded by my whole life. Um, but also, I really want my music to be a refuge, and for those who want an alternative to American culture, which is very self-centered. I think I've grown up. TV is a big theme. Television's a big theme in our record, The Sunken Truth. A lot of propaganda, I think, that I've been bombarded with my whole life, and I want the songs that I have to be a refuge away from that. So, it started out as a joke, but it's since become an analogy, I think, really.
Yeah, I knew there was something to it, right? It's such a pointed kind of name. Like there had to be a story behind it. And I love the story. I love it's, when you're putting together groups, sometimes like the hardest thing to do is actually come up with a name.
Mm-hmm.
It's like some bands, and then some bands, after being together for like 10 years or 15 years, they look back at their name and they go, oh, that was a terrible idea. We
Yeah.
it's, I think of bands, that like are aging now, that came up with it when they were, 18, 19 years old. And I don't think it's one of those names, man. I think it really works for you guys, and the social kind of political commentary that you're making in your lyrics and your songs and stuff, that really works. So I love
Thank you.
I love the intellectual side of it too. Like I'm always fascinated with that analogy or that allegory kind of piece to it. So really cool story.
I love it. And also, like, searching you guys on Google, like I looked up the American hotel system, and you guys, you're right on top, so that's an important thing as a band, for marketing, to be able to be found.
SEO, man, for sure.
Which is wild, because the first time I actually Googled you guys, I was expecting to like get a bunch of links for hotels and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't, which was
Yeah.
the incredible thing. It's like those words all together, you're definitely going to find the band. So, and I'm glad that I did. You talked a little bit about the influence of TV,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things I noticed when I saw you guys live, is that you guys actually brought TVs with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, these guys are going to be, as soon as you guys came in and started setting up, I was like, these guys are going to be good. I can tell, because nobody brings all this extraneous stuff to a gig,
Yeah.
maybe they do. And then they're, not very good. That's possible. But you guys came in, you guys, like I mentioned before, you guys are super pro live. And talk a little bit about the decision on the, bringing the TVs in, how that ties in with the whole concept, because I love that album, The Sunken Truth. And it's, you guys like do a really good job of like thematically putting things together right down to your live set. So tell us a little bit about the live set and how it relates to the theme of the record.
Well, thank you so much. Honestly, I spend a lot of my time obsessing over those types of details, and it means so much to hear that. So the TV thing, I have a background in theater, in theatrical performance. I was part of a theater group from the time I was 4 until I was 18 and moved to college. So the performance aspect of the show is very, very important to me. And I've always loved when bands have a visual element to them that really kind of sets the tone for everything else. And so the branding aspect of the band is something that, I've spent a ton of energy and obsessing over. You can ask any of my bandmates; they'll be like, "Yes, Jake, we've seen this 15 variations of, a 2-second clip or whatever."
So that actually the performance you saw, that was the first time we ever did that with the TV screens.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and we well, thank you. And we played a release show the next week in Grand Rapids, and that was kind of the test run. The show over in Ipsy was the test run for that. And then we had our full length that came out in December, and I wanted to expand that even more. So we had video tracks that were in sync with every single song in the set. So we had different videos for every single song. And so I had a video guy, my friend Zach Rumley from Zach Rumley Productions here in Grand Rapids. That man's a saint. He deals with me. He mixed our first show ever, and he has kind of grown with us. And so we have a great relationship with him. And I'm really grateful for him because he puts up with me being like, hey man, I have this idea and I want to do synced video for every song. And he's like, okay, so we find a way to make it work. So the video thing, I really wanted just to be another piece of the performance. I want our live performances not to just be a gig. I want it to be an experience. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tom Jackson, but he is a live music producer. He calls himself a live music producer. And in high school, I was a camper at Camp Electric in Nashville. And I went to Camp Electric. I had the opportunity to go there twice, so 2 years in a row. And we got a session with Tom Jackson every day. And he said something that has stuck with me forever, and I'll take with me for the rest of my life. He said, why would I go to a show if I could just put on the CD and listen to it and not spend money on a ticket? I don't go to a show for that. I go to a show for an experience. And that's what I walk away with, these moments, right? These musical moments. I have those moments that I've experienced. I'm sure you do as well. And everyone watching has those moments as well that you just can't capture in a audio recording or a CD. And so I really want to bring that kind of production value, a higher production value to, even a small gig. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love like how intentional you are with everything. I love how deep and purposeful you are with both your music and your live shows. And also one thing that came across me a lot is you let so much emotion out through your music. When you're playing, I can really see the emotion in your face. I can hear it in your voice. Is that something you've always been able to do, or is that something you learned along the way? I mean, you've been in theater since you were very young and doing music for a long time. But yeah, talk about that a little, because not everyone can do that. Like it's hard. Like when I first started making music and writing raps and trying to sing and stuff, I couldn't really like get that emotion out.
Yeah. That's definitely something that I think is developed. For me, at least. I mean, there's plenty of people out there who, they wear their heart on the sleeve from the start. And I have always been a very emotional person. I suffered a traumatic brain injury about 5 years ago that completely changed my life forever. It changed my personality. I had to learn how to talk again. And I also had to kind of relearn how to deal with my emotions. So I think total, if you add up all the time together, I did a little over a year to 18 months of rehabilitation therapy. And ever since that injury, I've really struggled to express emotion or show emotion just in conversation, I feel. And I've had to learn how to do that again. And so music really has been the place for me to do that the best, as cliche as that might sound. I'm a really, really big fan of Garth Brooks. And I mean, we're not a country band by any means, but he has been my favorite since I was like 2. And I really think the thing that draws me in, I had the privilege of seeing him in Detroit back in February. And the emotion that he's able to convey through his voice, through his inflections, is really inspiring. And I think that music, as I said in the stream when I was playing, it's such a powerful tool to, lift other people up. And I try to do that as much as I can in the songs we sing. We have a song called Lori's Song. It's on our record. And I have not ever been able to play that song without like breaking down in tears on stage. It was written for my mother. She was in an abusive relationship, and I wrote it for her with my friend Caleb. And I mean, every time I tell myself I'm gonna get through this, and then as soon as the chorus hits, I just lose it. So yeah, the emotion side of things is really something I've tried to lean into more so, just as a really a therapeutic thing for me.
Yeah, and it turns out that as you're doing that, it's therapeutic for your audience too. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, I think you being able to, it's a vulnerability that you're, you know, putting on stage and in the recording for people. And um, that authenticity, I really admire that in a songwriter and a performer. And I think, like, to Max's point, I think it definitely doesn't come easy for anyone. It's even a
Yeah.
decision that you make, right? To put it out there and really just, just be you. And the fact that you went through that struggle and had to, you know, relearn those things. And you guys, and you're just, I mean, I would have never known, right? Like, that you've gone through that. So I'm super happy for you. And we're really grateful because we get to, experience your music. Um, and I loved, even coming out of all that, that you, even if it's a small gig, and that show that you played in Ipsy was definitely small, right there.
Yeah.
There was a small venue, and you guys came in and you put on that show like you were playing the Palace, literally, and that's
Thank you.
and that's something, I shouldn't say Palace anymore. I think they turned that. I think they tore that down. But
Is that
but
gone now? Yeah, it's gone, isn't it? Wow.
yeah, they tore it down. Is it the Palace? Yeah, I think that was the Palace in Auburn
Yeah.
Hills. Yeah. So I have to say like Ford Field or something like that, because that's where Garth Brooks just performed, right?
Yeah, there we go.
That
Ford
was at
Field.
Ford Field.
Little
Yeah.
Caesars Arena. I think that's is that where the Pistons are now? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, there've been a lot of changes. But yeah, that's incredible. I wouldn't have pinned you for a Garth Brooks fan.
Yeah, everyone's surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what though? Like, the guy is an incredible performer. He's got
Mhm.
just decades of success, and I can imagine seeing him live would be incredible. And
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
that the fact that you put that kind of thought and emotion into your live performances, I mean, it just shows. So if those of you that are watching have not seen the American Hotel System live, we are confident that there will be live shows again, and
Someday.
we're gonna do everything we can to get them to come back to Ipsy, and on a bigger stage. I think you guys certainly need to be on one, and we'd just love to see it. Um, we've been talking about, sort of the emotional side of music and some of the challenges and stuff, but the socio-political commentary does come up, and it's like, it's always a debate among musicians. I know in my own band, it's been, do we do this, do we play this event that is related to this political thing or not? Even there's some debate there, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not, but you don't shy away from that. And obviously some of your songs are more tied to personal things. But what are some of the songs that you could point to as more the political, socio-political side of things, and maybe highlight one of those songs or something, and what does it stand for? Because one of the things that struck me is when you were kind of doing some stories in between your songs, you're noting how, like, oh, I wrote this song years ago, but man, it seems really relevant right now because of what we're all going through. So maybe highlight something from your catalog.
Yeah. I was debating on whether or not playing it today, but I changed it out for a different song. But the Um, it's the third track on our full length. It's called Breakdown, and I think it's by and large the most political song we have, the most like overtly political song we have. A lot of them tend to be on a personal level, my kind of my response to political issues. Talk Inc. is more, I was in a place a few years ago where I was definitely living my life through the lens of my news feed, right? And how that's not a good thing. But Breakdown is definitely the most political song we have. It's about immigration at its core. At the time, there's the pre-chorus says, love can't break through while we're building walls, but crumbling it down from inside. And that was, I'm going to just say it straight out, that was definitely a reference to, a southern border wall. But at the same time, I kind of see that as an analogy for, on the personal scale of, I can't show love to other people if I'm going to build a wall around myself. So I always try to add, a personal aspect to the political thing, but Breakdown's definitely political. Alt Game, which is kind of the intro track to Breakdown. I wrote that in 10, 15 minutes. And it's basically my call to arms, in a kind of meta commentary way. It's like, okay, let's go. Let's play the game of battling and babbling our lives away. Because in the end, I see the political debate is just babble, and I think it's distracting from, the truth and of the matters that really is we should love each other.
Absolutely.
And I so that's kind of at the core of it. The political aspects pointing more towards an alternative. I'm a big fan of ethics and philosophy. And there's the idea of transcendentals, truth, goodness, and beauty. And at all three of those things is perfection, the things that intersect those three. And something can be good and beautiful, but not true. Something can be, true and beautiful, but not good. But at the intersection of all those things is where I try to look at issues and live my life through the lens of that, which doesn't always mean American values, I think, or patriotism. Don't always mean those three things. And that's a hard thing to realize if you've grown up in. I mean, I was a little kid, during the Iraq War. I grew up during that period. I was 4 or 5 on 9/11, and so the next 10, 15 years were spent, being told how much I should be afraid of other people who don't look like me, who don't sound like me, who don't speak the language I speak. And I've been to the Middle East, I've been to Israel, and I think that when you step into the shoes of somebody else, the world is so much bigger, right? Like the world expands exponentially.
That's deep stuff. I love that how the intersection of those three things can really kind of give you that lens to look through in your songwriting, in your life. I really appreciate that approach. I'm a fan of those things as well, and do my best to look through those lenses so I can totally relate. I think we need more. I think we definitely need more love. I've certainly been guilty of, being loud about things in a way that's maybe less loving. But I've, as I've grown older, I think I've worked towards that. And I think it's like an effort every day, right? You have to keep reminding yourself to do that, and not defaulting any old habits that you might have, right? I really appreciate that.
A lot of popular music nowadays too has totally gotten away from that concept, you know, of like of love, and most popular music and rap music nowadays is the exact opposite. You know, it's just material, and this is what I have, and I have all this money and stuff. So
Very egocentric, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just so refreshing, and like just I'm blown away by like your music and your message, and like what you just said about the lens. Like I honestly think that the way that you like live and approach life and approach music is like the way that, you know, when you look at things through that lens, you can really truly be happy, like when if you try and follow those things, you know. And I think for me, like over my life, really being happy and making other people happy has turned out to be the most important thing to me, you know, really in the end. So I really love that. Can you talk a little bit about how like you got into music, like your first origins? Because obviously you've been doing it for a while, you have tons of skills. So, and you said you went to music school. I'd love to hear about that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I see that Eric asked who were some of my biggest writing influences. By and large, John Foreman. Yeah, John Foreman, lead singer of Switchfoot. That man and his music has changed my life for sure. Definitely influenced me more than anybody else. So that's probably my biggest writing influence. Yeah, so I've loved music my whole life. My grandparents bought me my first guitar when I was 2. It was for my 2nd birthday. They gave it to me, and I mean, there's video of me lip syncing to, you know, Garth Brooks when I was 2 years old. And I've always been really passionate about music. My family was always listening to music. I mean, constantly. I mean, you look at videos of when I was a baby, you know, just 3 days old, and there's, you know, Hootie and the Blowfish being blasted in the background. So both my parents love music. I got my love of concerts from my mom. I mean, she went to concerts while she was pregnant with me, and she took me to concerts my whole life. And
oh wait, you got to pause there. What do you remember? What your first concert was?
So my first concert that I have a memory of was so my family listened to a lot of country music. So I think the first 2, I don't remember which one was first. It was either Tim McGraw and Faith Hill at Van Andel Arena in like 2001 or 2. I don't exactly remember what year it was. And then, or Toby Keith at the Pig gig in, I don't remember, Jackson. Those are the first concerts I went to with my family. The first concert I ever saw that was like my concert, like the one I wanted to go to, was Drake Bell from Drake and Josh, the Nickelodeon show.
Nice.
Yeah,
awesome.
which he's an amazing
Awesome. How was that? Was he good?
He's amazing. And I think he got written off as a kind of a boy band pop guy, just because he was popular on Nickelodeon, a young adult, young kid network. But he's actually making some pretty good stuff now, still to this day.
Sure, it's really hard for him to shake that image, you know.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of examples of that too. I mean, you can find examples of people, that had this career in TV or something first, and then they do the music thing, and people are like, but it happens. That's cool though. I love hearing first concert stories.
Yeah.
And early concert stories, right? Like where did your musical inspiration? So yeah, I mean, back to what Max was saying, I think like music has been a part of your life. So what else influences your writing? I mean, we talked about politics, we talked about personal experiences. Is there anything else you can point to in terms of that story?
Definitely. I so I didn't really perform music with like a guitar or anything until I was 10. I I was obsessed with Rock Band, not Rock Band, Guitar Hero, the video game, and I got into that with my dad. That got me into gear. I loved the gear aspect of that game. I think the third one was the first one you could like unlock levels and unlock real guitars. Like, you know, they had like a copy of Slash's, 1985 Gibson, and so that was
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
little 10-year-old me was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I get my Les Paul or whatever. Yeah.
Right, right. And but then I actually got my first guitar. I was my first like guitar that I played. I was 7 or 8. My grandparents bought it for me,
Wow.
and I took a few lessons, and I just kind of dropped it for a few years. I was, like I said, I was big into theater. That took up most of my time. My free time, not doing school. I was in scouts also, so scouting was a big part of my life. And then music, I started playing guitar, and I started in my church's, my church's praise team on Sunday morning, and kind of went off from there. And then I don't remember when I made the decision to go to music school. Actually, I knew I wanted to find a good music program when I was probably 9th or 10th grade. I actually went to Grace Bible College in Wyoming, in Grand Rapids. It's now called Grace Christian University, but their music program there is amazing. And I knew from the second I saw the ad that I wanted to go there. So writing influence wise, though, John Foreman from Switchfoot, he's probably my biggest one. Big John Mayer fan. Love that guy.
Love John Mayer.
Oh, he's so good, man. He's so great. Have you ever seen him? If you ever get the opportunity to see him live, do it. I've seen him 3 times, and each time has been just like, wow,
Yeah.
how can he get any better? And then he does.
I actually,
life experience. Go ahead.
I actually saw him perform with Dead and Company.
Dead and Company.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a I've been a Grateful Dead fan for a long time, and if you would have told me like 10 years ago that John Mayer was going to be,
Yeah.
taking, kind of sitting in on Jerry Garcia's, guitar stuff and singing Grateful Dead songs, I would have thought you were absolutely nuts. But I
Yeah.
do. It's funny. This John Mayer comes up a lot in our interviews somehow. Does it? Am I wrong, Max?
No, I mean he's a king, man. He's just one of the greats, dude. One of the best ever do it.
I think you love him, and I think there's people that hate him, but
You love him and you hate him. That's the thing. I mean, it's just he's so successful and so good that he's kind of a dick,
Yeah,
But
he's very funny on. He's
that
got
just
his.
happens when you're that good and you're that successful.
Yeah, maybe so. He's very funny on his Instagram posts. He's
Current
definitely
mood.
quite the comedian, but I love that. So you got I'm gonna have to. You keep mentioning Switchfoot, and I'm like, I know I've heard of that band. I don't know that I know their catalog. So I know what I'm doing tonight. As I'm doing other things around the house, I'm gonna put on some Switchfoot.
Beautiful Letdown. Beautiful Letdown is their kind of breakout record. You've probably heard Meant to Live at some point. That's the opening track on that record. And then my favorite's probably Vice Versus. That's from 2011 or 2012. That record, you can definitely hear the influence on us as a band from that album. So that's probably my favorite album ever. If I had to pick, gun to my head, But
yeah, cool.
Yeah, they're great, man.
Duly noted.
I say life experience is the biggest influence, though. I grew up with a sick father. My father was chronically ill my whole life. He died when I was 16, and that's something that I don't think any teenager should have to go through. But I think that definitely taught me a greater appreciation for what's really important in life. Um, and it kind of makes you realize, like, okay, what is most important? Family, friends, people, right? Other people.
Amen to that, man. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And so that, that happened. And then I came to college, had the accident, um, 3, 4 months into college. And that kind of reshaped my personality and everything. And I was able to really, I think I had the opportunity to decide who I wanted to be and what I wanted to stand for. I think I mentioned I was in Scouts. Honestly, the Boy Scouts of America made me a huge part of who I am today. Is definitely Boy Scouts. I was in Cub Scouts from the time I was 7 until I was, you know, uh, too old to be in it. And that was a huge influence. The service aspect of that, I think, serving other people through whatever you do, even if it's, a lot of scouts are in local government or politics, but there's also a ton of creatives who are Boy Scouts, who are Eagle Scouts, and kind of taking that aspect of service to other people and cheerful service, and applying it to whatever you do and doing it well and to the best of your ability. So the Boy Scouts definitely, shout out to the BSA, had a huge influence on who I am. And then my family, honestly, like I'm so blessed to have a supportive, loving family who I'm very close with. My grandparents, I grew up next door to them. They were my next door neighbors, which
That's awesome.
not
I
a lot
love
of
that.
people have that opportunity. And
Yeah,
so the
absolutely.
kind of the love and support that they show and they modeled for me, um, I think definitely plays into that for sure. That's a huge part of it as well.
Yeah, that's huge. And just talking about like what really realizing what really matters in
Mhm.
life and then choosing to live in that way and like realizing the person that you need to be, to be the happiest and to make other people the happiest and then choosing to live in that way, because I feel like a lot of people know, what's right and what's wrong or what's important and what's not important, but we get lost in the material aspect of this world. We get lost in the timelines. We get lost in the news, and we forget. Or there's some people that just straight up choose, to live the selfish way. They just care about themselves, and they're just like whatever. Um, but it's incredibly inspiring. Um, you talking about how you figured out um, how to view life and how to be and the importance of people and serving other people, and it really comes out in your music, man. So thank you so
Thanks.
much. And
That's
honestly, like I'm just like almost speechless, like listening to you talk, man, because it's just like hitting me so hard right now for sure.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's probably the biggest struggle I have in life is pride. I like straight up. That's a daily choice. Um, like a daily choice I make. However many decisions a day to kind of step off my pedestal. It hit me the hardest. Oh, probably 4 years ago. My wife and I were still dating at the time, and it was just this season of frustration, and I can't even tell you really what it was because I'm not sure, but I felt like I was constantly frustrated. We were always like bickering, and we went to a coffee shop and sat down over a cup of coffee, and she said, like, she's so sweet, she's so delicate and so gentle, uh, and I'm quite loud and verbose, and so she I think reminds me every day, that I wake up. She's a reminder um, to sacrifice myself and lift other people up because she models that for me in this life. And she said to me, "Do we need to take a break? Um, like we can take a break if you like need to take a break." And that moment clicked, kind of in my heart, uh, that she is way more important than whatever cynical comment I have to make, whatever opinion I might have. That our relationship is far more valuable than any of those things. And I think that was really the turning point. In that same season, that was when I was obsessed over, just sharing however much noise I could share on social media, and kind of applying the idea that relationships are more important than opinion. That bled into the rest of my life. So that was the moment, I think, that switched for me. So,
dude, that's
really
huge. That's huge because, like, I mean, I've been through the same thing in my relationship, and I think a lot of us in our relationships go through the same thing. Where, I mean, this life is incredibly stressful, and we all have our own things to deal with, and we all get stuck in our own heads. And want to control everything and want to do everything the way we want to do it. And a relationship isn't like that. A relationship is just two people who really enjoy each other, spending time together.
Right.
And so that's a fantastic point that I think that I've gotten away from in my relationship, just getting too caught up in the day-to-day stuff and forgetting to really put that effort in, really spend that quality time with somebody, because you're right. People are the most important thing, and we only have limited amounts of time to spend with these people that we love, and I think that we also forget about that a lot of the time too, that this isn't just going to keep going on and on, so that's huge, man. I love, that song that you just put out, Another Road, your most recent song that you put out. Can you talk about that song a little bit and how that came about, and what you guys are doing and the music that you guys have coming up shortly in the future?
Definitely. So Another Road is a sequel to Home. My best friend Caleb, he is a poet, and he'll send me things every now and then, be like, "Hey, I think this could be a song. What do you think?" And he sent me kind of rough lyrics to Another Road a few months ago, and said, "Hey, I wrote this. When you sing it or when you read it, sing it to the melody of Home from your record." And I said, "Okay." And so I did, and it worked. I didn't really know what to do with it, though, because we're in the middle of writing our next full-length record, which is going to release in 4 3-part EPs, kind of mini EPs. The first one came out in April, and that's called Loyalty. Each release is going to be an intro track, a main song, and then like a stripped down acoustic song or spoken word or something a little different. So each release has, the diversity that I really love within all of my music in small little bite-sized portions. So we're working on that. And then COVID-19 happened, and so those were going to come out every other month. And I had an idea just like 3 weeks ago, and I text CT, our guitar player, and I said, "Hey man, like, what do you think of this?" And I said, "What if we did just like an acoustic song or like a stripped down song and put it out on the off months and called it the Postcard series, like a musical postcard?" And he loved it, and so we recorded that song. We finished the lyrics, we changed some things, add another verse, and it kind of pushed in the direction of substance abuse, alcoholism, which is something that's kind of near and dear to our hearts as a band, is raising awareness for that. And so we released it on this past Friday, May 1st, which so happens to coincide with Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're all the digital sales from that song for this month, T-shirts, all that kind of stuff, is going to go to Pine Rest, which is a mental health service here in Grand Rapids. So Another Road, we released that. We're working on another one. It's going to come out in another postcard song, which is going to come out in July. The next release we have is we're aiming for. I have not announced this yet, so I guess you heard it here first.
Oh,
Nice.
we love that. We love
yeah,
that.
there we
That's
go.
awesome.
Our next release is going to be called "To You," like "To You," and that's the next tri-single. We're calling this series the tri-single series. While our last record was, black and white, themes of black and white. Oh, here's something interesting. Our branding for the last 2 years has been, monotone, black and white. But if you look very closely, there's like a distortion on it, kind of a bad television effect. And the idea behind that was the world likes to see, myself included, I really long to see things in black and white, either right or wrong, yes, no, like it's easier for me to process. But the truth of the matter is it's not. The world is not black and white. And so when you distort the world's view of black and white, you see all kinds of colors in there. And so if you look at the edges of all of our artwork and all those kinds of things, there's red, green, blue, all those kinds of colors in there. So that's just a little subtle.
I love that.
Aspects.
Love that.
That's great.
While that was all black and white, this new series, there's lots of different color. So Loyalty had like this vintage kind of orange look. The next one's going to be blue. I think there's some green. There's like a purple. One's purple. Anyway, we're going for like a retro kind of 50s and 60s marketing vibe for this one. The full-length record is going to be called Interrobang, which in Interrobang is the combination of a question mark and an exclamation point. That was created in the 1960s as a marketing tool to ask a rhetorical question. So, along with that, there's lots of themes of rhetoric and communication within this next project. And it's very colorful. It's very loud and like, wow, kind of branding. And so the tri-single series, because Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music don't consider anything, they don't consider 3 songs an EP. They consider that a single, especially if it's under 10 minutes. And so I thought, well, what better way to kind of play into that and lean into that than call it the tri-single series, which is an oxymoron, right?
Love it.
It's total oxymoron. So we decided to do that. So that second tri-single comes out next month, hopefully on the 5th. I'm not sure on that. That's bound to change. That's called To You. And then we're working on 3 records right now. So we have Interrobang. That's hopefully coming out in December. And then we have another record we're working with another producer on, a new producer on. And then we're working on another one with our friend Zach. It's kind of in the pre-production phase right now. That is going to be all analog. So everything you hear on it is going to be, the only digital aspect is that the masters are going to be recorded digitally, but all the processing, everything completely analog. That'll be fun. We'll probably talk more about that at the end of the year, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff we're working on. Another road, to kind of wrap back up to what you asked. Another road is, we had a music video that came out Monday, and yeah, I got Christian here in the comments telling me, don't say too much. I won't, buddy. I won't. That's all I'll say. There we go.
I love it.
I'm really bad at that.
You're being policed in the comment section. Just make sure you don't say too much. That's awesome.
That's all I'm saying. So we're working on 3 records, possibly another one, but that's where it's way not ready to talk about yet. But I love the marketing aspect of things. I do a lot of digital marketing, and the band has kind of served as my practice space for graphic design, marketing, video production. So I do that for some other acts. I actually have a media production company that I run out of my small studio here. You can't see all my studio setup because I'm facing it, but I do that. Have some really great friends that I work on stuff with, and have the honor and opportunity to publish them. So another road. Here we go. Sorry, I'm on a rabbit trail. Another road.
It's all right,
Substance
man. It's all
abuse.
good.
The idea being, those are musical postcards written from a fictional place called the American Hotel System. So we're developing a narrative. Um, I'm a big fan of a lot of progressive rock. I've been listening to a ton of The Deer Hunter lately, if you're familiar with them. Not Deer Hunter, that's a separate band. The Deer Hunter. Big fan of them. Casey Crescenzo. They have 5 records that are all the story of one person. And so the idea of having a narrative behind our projects, it's really inspiring. So there's a fictional hotel called the American Hotel System. These postcards are being written by patrons of the hotel system from their rooms to loved ones while they're in isolation. So there's more to that story coming with every release.
It's amazing,
they're all
man.
gonna tie together. So
I love the concept. You know, it ties in so well with everything else. It's really, it's a true pleasure to see the thought behind everything that you know we're kind of experiencing on the other side. You know, just listening to the music and everything else. I love how thoughtful you are in kind of, you know, just putting these projects together. The graphic design that you've done is very cool. Like, it's very eye catching. If you go to the
Thank you.
website, their website is the American Hotel System, or it's actually AmericanHotelSystem.com, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't have the in front of it. I want to be clear about that. So it's
Yes.
AmericanHotelSystem.com. You can get a good look at some of the graphic design elements that he's talking about. It's really great stuff. And almost all the music is there except the newest release, right? And
Yes.
the newest release, one song came out on May 1st, right? From this series of
Yes.
projects you're talking about. And you can listen to that at theamericanhotelsystem.bandcamp.com.
Right.
Cool. Okay. I wanted to make sure those that were listening understood that. And you got the sneak preview of what's happening with these guys coming up in the coming year. Man, you have an amazing story. I wouldn't have known any of those things about you before we had this interview. I think we're both really super enamored that you were willing to share those personal stories and how that plays out in your music. We don't get to have that conversation all the time with people. So I think it really it does, like Max said, it just shows in your music. We've been really lucky to have you here today. And I think it's probably going to be hard to get you in the future, because I have a feeling you guys are going to be really busy. And I know that you're going to be growing in popularity and hitting some big stages in the future
Thank
when
you
big
so much,
stages
man.
can be hit. Yeah.
That's an honor. Really, I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we'll be in touch, because I definitely would like to have you guys back out when we have that opportunity. I'll be listening and watching, so we're following you on social media. You guys are on Facebook and Instagram as well, so you can find the American Hotel System on those channels. Definitely look out for them doing amazing things, more amazing things very soon. Things are really uncertain right now in some ways, and I know some of us are kind of like, well, what's next, you know, when can we do this, when can we do that? Just to kind of lead off and tie things up, what do you think is certain right now and that's a really broad question, I know. Maybe it's certain with the music or certain with the world, but what do you think's certain?
Man, we're living day by day right now. I think that's what I've learned in the last 2 months. I think the one thing that's certain is that at the end of everything, I think love will prevail, and the love that we have for each other is the thing that we can hold on to with certainty right now. So reach out to the people who you love, reach out to the people who you might not be able to see. But I mean, the three of us are on Zoom right now, and we're all in different parts right now. So that's what I would say. The love you have for your friends, family, neighbor is, I think, one of the only certain things of life right now.
Couldn't have said it better, man. That's a really perfect sentiment. Again, super appreciate you showing up today. Loved your performance, your solo performance. Look forward to hearing the band again. We're watching for the projects coming out. Again, this is Grove Studios, Grove Sessions. We're going to be back with you this Friday for another special engagement. It's going to be the DJ Allium. Her name's Tessa Fornari. It's going to be a super, super fun set for a Friday. And we're going to keep doing this. We've got a whole month booked, 3 days a week. We do Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So tune in. You can also go back to our videos page and watch any of the videos that you may have missed. You can go back and watch Jake's performance if you missed that earlier and you're just joining us now. But again, thanks, Jake. Thanks, Max, for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jake. Honestly, you like really inspired me, man. Like sometimes it's you know, it is hard for me sometimes to really reach in and put my true like real emotions into what I'm writing with my music, you know. And just talking to you meant a lot today, man. And I definitely hope to talk to you soon, for sure.
Thank you. It means so much, really. Thank you so much.
For sure, for sure. We'll see you very soon. Everybody have a great rest of your evening. Again, like I said, we'll be back here on Friday at 4:00 for Allium. And again, on Sunday, you can check the events page. We got a whole month of amazing people coming through. So appreciate it. Tell everybody in Grand Rapids we said hello, and we'll see everybody soon. Have a great night.
Sounds good.